Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And this, of course, is the last one of the day of the long forms. And so this is my last opportunity to ask you to hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow, and we need to get the truth out there. Now, by convention, I like to finish the day on a lighter note. And we have one here where Frankie Boyle, who used to be funny, has opened his mouth and somebody has come back at him. And the response has been marvellous because they've challenged him to do something which he will not do. He's perfectly capable of doing it, but he will choose not to. And it is very much a case of hoist with your own petard, because he's made a claim about the ongoing conversation that's being had in the country about islamisation. And he's come out on the side of one side of the argument, shall we say. And someone has said to him, well, if this isn't a problem, do this. And of course, he's never, ever going to do it because Frankie Boyle is a bullshit artist, to put it bluntly. I mean, he, like I say, he used to be funny. Then he all went a bit weird and a bit lefty and a bit up his own backside, rather. And so, you know, that I think has gone off the boil. Off the boil? Hey, I didn't mean that. That was pun unintended. However, what's happened now is that he's taking a stance on a particular thing that is not the right view of the majority, I think, of people in this country today. Let's take a look. So, Frankie Boyle has been challenged by a fellow comic to publish an image of Muhammad on his social media, which, of course, he will not do. But the fact that he won't do it is kind of going against what his view is on the question of Islamisation. And it's a very hypocritical stance for him to say. So we'll take a look. After the Scots' latest outburst, Josh Hoyle says, if Islamists aren't a problem, I'd challenge him to post the Hebdo cartoon or just a handsome, heroic image of the Prophet. And of course, he isn't going to do it. There he is, Big Mouth Frankie. Controversial comedian Frankie Boyle is in danger of being ratioed by a fellow comic over his Islamist tweet. The Glaswegian posted on X on February the 23rd, if I see the word Islamist, I just assume I'm about to read the incoherent ramblings of a crazed racist. Although I don't know why, because Islam is not a race. You can have black Muslims. You can have white Muslims. Indeed, if you go to Iran, they're as white as me. These are white people. Iran is a Caucasian country. They're not Arab. They're not Levantine. They are Aryan. That's when, in fact, Iran is where the term Aryan comes from. You've got brown Muslims. You've got Chinese Muslims. There's no racism involved in calling someone a Muslim. You know, saying the word Islamist is not a racist term. Unless you're a complete and utter fuckwit like Frankie Boyle. Anyway, 3 days later, as the debate intensified, another comedian, London-based Josh Howie, responded. He said, I've known and liked Frankie for a long time, but if Islamists aren't real and Islamists aren't a problem in the UK, then I'd challenge him to post the Hebdo cartoon. I'll even make it easier, he says. Just post a handsome, heroic image of the Prophet Muhammad. At the time of writing, Boyle's post had 267,000 views, 7.8 thousand likes and 1.3 thousand retweets. Howie's post had 194,000 views, 5.3 thousand likes and 764 retweets. One person responded, what a beautiful tweet. Another said, great riposte, Josh. And according to Urban Dictionary, ratioed is when a reply to a tweet gets more likes than the tweet it was replying to, usually indicating the unpopularity or stupidity of the original tweet. And of course it's stupid. He's sitting there going, oh, there's no problem with Islamists. There's no such thing as Islamists. Britain isn't filled with Islamists. Blah, 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 blah. All this rubbish. And yet he's not going to publish a picture of Muhammad, even though he says there's no Islamists. And the reason is he knows full well there are, and that they will, if he did that, come after him and put a fatwa on his head, and he'd be dead. Anyway, Boyle's comment followed in the furore over suspended Tory MP Lee Anderson, who lost the party whip after he refused to apologise for saying London Mayor Sadiq Khan was controlled by Islamists. And we all know that that is completely true. They've fired a man for speaking the truth. Oh, what a world we live in when truth is punishable. People don't like it, but just because you don't like it doesn't change it. That's the great thing about facts. Facts don't care what you think. His comment followed an op-ed from former Home Secretary Suella Braverman, who wrote, "The Islamists, the extremists and the anti-Semites are in charge now." Mr. Anderson told GB News, "I don't actually believe that the Islamists have got control of our country yet, but what I do believe is that they've got control of Khan. He's actually given our capital city away to his mates." And I think we can all agree that as well. Boyle's tweet has summed up the increasingly polarised debate about the pro-Palestine protests in London and across the UK, including in Scotland. Many critics believe the police are failing to stop criminal behaviour at the rowdy and often menacing demos. Now, the thing is, for years we've been imposed with this mass immigration of third worlders who can barely communicate, they're untrained, unskilled, uneducated, and then we're told that we've got to use our tax money to pay for these people. And nobody knows why. Nobody had the conversation with us. It was imposed on us by mostly Tony Blair, who basically did it to destroy what the vision of Britain was. He wanted a new Britain that wasn't old Britain. He didn't want a conservative Britain made up with people who had heritage here, who had an investment in the country. He wanted just all these mass immigration of these people to come here and destroy everything our fathers, forefathers, grandfathers, everyone, generations had built. Because Tony Blair is a traitor to this country. And it's very telling that the very first act he did as Prime Minister was to remove the death penalty for treason. I think it's time we reversed that decision and did unto Tony Blair what he has effectively and metaphorically done to this country. But we were told, with all this mass immigration, that we weren't to complain. If we complained, we were being racist, we were being phobes, we were doing this, that and the other. Now, all of a sudden, it's MPs. Those in power are being impacted by what they've imposed on us. And all of a sudden now, it's perfectly acceptable to talk about Islamisation and Islamofascism. We're fine now. It's allowable now. So we're not the hard right, the far right anymore for bringing this subject up. Because politicians are being impacted. And therefore it's important that we all discuss it and reject it. Oh dearie me. Come home to roost of those chickens. And now they are suffering. They are now saying out loud what we have been saying for years, that we're fed up with it, we don't want any more, and indeed we want less of it, and we want this country taken back into the hands of the people who were born here, who are generations in its making. We are the indigenous race, and even the UN says that the indigenous race of any region must be given priority. It's in the rules. Read them and take our country back. And let the likes of Frankie Boyle sit on his left-wing arse and prove how brave he is. Prove how right he is by publishing a picture of Mohammed on his Facebook and see how long he lasts. What a prick. Anyway, I'm coming up. Well, that escalated quickly, didn't it? Oh well, I'm not wrong though. I'm bloody well not wrong. Frankie Boyle is an idiot. He's sitting there and he's saying these things, but he won't do it because he knows that he's full of it. He knows the problems he'd cause if he did. He knows he'd be likely, on somebody's hit list. So he won't. He's scared. And we're in a position now where people are scared because we've let these people in. I think it's time we let these people out and sent them back. Look at the passports. If you haven't got a passport, check. What are you coming in with? Nothing. All these illegal boats. We don't know who's bringing these in. We don't know what's coming in. As soon as we get them. No human rights. The moment they do this, let's remove ourselves from the EHCR, the ECHR, and let's just say, right, you're here, you're illegal, bang, on a boat, and send them back. Don't matter where. First plane out, off you go. Let it be someone else's problem, and let's control our borders. We can't be having people here without the right to be in, unchecked, unfettered, in numbers that our society cannot handle. And now to the point where people are even afraid to be British in their own country. Screw them all. Done. Coming up. Done.